All right, so I wanted to talk today about something that I have been seeing a little bit online, and that is that it has been very difficult for people to find information for DIY projects because there is so much garbage out there, opinions floating around. You watch a video that's a tutorial, and under that video there will be 100 comments saying how terrible the job is that person just did at their project, and you don't know whether to believe the person who made the video. You don't know whether to believe the comments from the people that say, oh, they've been working in that field for 20 years and you're full of crap. And I think that that's just going to become more and more of a problem as time goes on, especially now with AI making it so that knowledge is at everyone's fingertips. You're going to have a lot of people with very strong opinions on everything, every single project, every single topic. And it's just going to be harder and harder to tell truth from fiction. And so how do we handle this? How do we continue to do like DIY projects? How do we educate ourselves online without being crippled by the lack of knowing whether or not the advice that you're receiving is accurate, not knowing what voices to listen to? And I was thinking about this in light of DIY projects and thinking about how I learned all the topics that I know now. And this is not an entirely new problem. When I was first learning how to do DIY stuff, I started on YouTube almost 20 years ago now, and prior to that I was working on how to make fireworks, real fireworks, not just stuff that blows up, but things that are pretty and professional, and trying to learn how to do that stuff through forums. And some people would leave advice and others would refute that advice. In that case it was a little easier because there were like moderators of these forums, and you basically could tell whether or not someone was qualified to be answering your question by looking at what other stuff they have posted, and see what those people had accomplished themselves. Do they actually know what they're talking about, or are they just saying things that they've read elsewhere? And so it's kind of the same problem, and I think it's kind of the same solution. The way that we have to parse through this information is to be looking for evidence that people know what they're talking about. And the evidence, I think, is it's kind of a shame because some people have very good advice on the internet that have not posted anything themselves because they are too busy out in a professional field of work to spend their time making YouTube videos. And so you can miss out on some good advice by only sticking to people who have posted proof about what they've done online. But even so, I think that is where someone needs to start. Start by looking for people who have posted proof about what they've done. Say you're working on a DIY project. I just read a post somewhere, a person saying that they were looking for advice on how to level the foundation of like a cement pad to put a shed on, and how they were getting conflicting advice. Well, the place to start would be finding someone online who has leveled a cement pad. You can look at the comments under a video or like the tutorial or whatever it is where you find someone who's done this thing, and you'll see lots of people saying, oh, you did it wrong. But the important thing is to see that they did it. Now, hopefully, whatever that source of information is, they did that several years ago, and you can either talk to them again and see how it turned out, or hopefully they've posted an update. And now you know that you're getting information from someone who has actually done the thing, and how it worked out. You can get some advice that you know is based on reality to start you off. Now, you may not get the best advice. Maybe someone in the comments that is saying, oh, you really did this in a garbage way. It's only been 3 years since you did it. In 5, it's going to be crumbled. Maybe that person is right. But you don't know that. And in order to start out in doing this sort of DIY thing online, you need to start from information that you know is solid. Even if you don't know that it's the best best information that you could have, at least it's based in reality. And that's what I think, like when we get into talking about AI and things, it's going to be controversial for me to say this. A lot of you will not like this, but I have found AI in certain circumstances to be extremely helpful in some of my own research. But the only reason why it's helpful is because I kind of already know what I'm doing in the projects that I'm working on. Not because I've worked on them before, but because I've worked on things that are adjacent to them. And so when I go into AI and I'm basically using it like a web search to pull up very niche information that I'd have to dig through a whole bunch of papers to find, and AI can pull it up in 2 seconds, I already have learned enough of the real world solid information based on my own experience and other projects that I've worked on to be able to parse through, okay, what the AI just said there is garbage. What they said right there, that's actually an interesting lead. I should look into that one more. And that's the thing, is that you need to have this firm starting point of real solid information, like I have with the experience of all the other projects that I've worked on in my life, to be able to parse through, okay, that was something good. That was something worthwhile that was said there, and I should look into that. Well, you have to have some grounding in reality to be able to have some measure of what is real good advice versus what is just totally fabricated. Or, people will have very strong opinions on the internet on every topic in the world because they've read about every topic in the world. They've seen other videos. And they've heard other people's opinions. So you get people that have very strong opinions because they've read someone else's very strong opinion who got that from someone else. And none of these people have actually done the thing to find out that, this really works or this doesn't. I remember saying a very strong opinion one time, asking, someone was talking about hydrogen vehicles, hydrogen-powered cars, and they were an expert. They actually built these things, and I come into this thread very confidently talking about hydrogen embrittlement. And I'm like, I've never experienced hydrogen embrittlement in my life. It's just a concept that I've learned about online, but I developed this very strong opinion that there is no way that, high-pressure hydrogen storage is going to work reliably over the years without being dangerous or whatever. And it's just, it was something that I had a strong opinion about, and I had no business having a strong opinion about, because, obviously this is like the first thing that someone who's actually working in the hydrogen industry would be aware of. And like, I come in as if I'm like providing new information. How common is that? Just to point out how strong the opinions can be on the internet with very little information backing it up. And one of the ways to get around that, just find people that have actually done the thing, have some tangible experience that you can lean into. And once you actually start building this knowledge base of real world experience under your belt, even if you do a relatively crappy job at the first few things you try, suddenly you've tried enough things that you have this connection with how reality works, so that when you read advice on the internet, when you maybe consult AI on something, you can see that it is, you just have a better connection with reality to be able to say, that doesn't sound right. That actually seems like it might be a good idea. And it improves your discernment, improves how you can tell the difference between these things. And that is a skill that we are going to desperately need now and in the future. All right, that's it. Talk to you later.